So in the last session, what I've covered is we have covered what is Microsoft Entra. We have seen what is identity and access management. Two-factor authentication, we have seen Active Directory on-premise versus Azure Entra ID. So these are the theory part, some of the theory topics we have covered in the last session. Apart from that, we have also seen management groups, role-based access controls, and we did one lab. And we have also seen Azure policies, resource logs. Till here, we have completed in the last session. So today, what we'll be saying service principles and managed identity. Okay, I'll go ahead and start with service principle. So what is a service principle? So it is a service principle is a special identity in Microsoft Entra ID. So it is a special identity in Microsoft Entra ID that an application, service, or automated tool uses to securely access resources in Azure. When we are like, for example, when we are trying to create a key vault or trying to create a resource group, a app service or anything. So far, what we have done, we are trying to do it from the portal, right? So everything we have done so far in all these labs, we tried to do it from the portal. But in enterprise, it is not done in that way. Just to get aware of how the options are given in the portal, how the wizards are coming, and everything. So we have done everything from the portal itself. But when it comes to organization, we automate those things using Azure PowerShell or Azure AZCLI commands. So these commands, they are easily available on the Microsoft portal. So for creating resource group, for example, for creating a resource group, we can, if we go and check how can I create a resource group using Azure PowerShell, it gives the commands. Okay, you can just copy and paste and just update the resource group name and location and go ahead and run it. It will go ahead and create the resource, Azure resource group. Similarly, all other resources we can create using Azure PowerShell. There are two things, Azure PowerShell and Azure CLI. Azure CLI is nothing but it is a cross-platform. It works on Linux, CentOS, Windows, and everything. Azure PowerShell is more of a Microsoft proprietary, and it works in Windows and like that. But basically, both the Azure CLI and Azure PowerShell, when you run those commands, they are calling the same API, application interface. At the back end, they call the same API. Okay, but the thing is, the challenge is, I went ahead and ran my resource group creation command, but it is failing at authorization. So the one way is I can interactively run one command, which is a connect-az account or az account connect, az account login. So these two commands are there, which will ask you the ID and password. But when I automate, I don't want that, right? I want the session to go without my interaction. So in those scenarios, we use this service principle. I have a lab on this, how we can, connect to Azure in a non-interactive way. So in those scenarios, we use this service principle. Any questions?
Got it. No.
Okay. Okay. It next point is it acts as a user identity for a service and is granted specific permissions to resources rather than having access to everything. Similar to how we have users groups, we provide users groups some access to the resources. We also can give the access to service principal. A service principal is next point is a service principal is created automatically when you register an application in Microsoft Entra ID. Uses either a certificate or an application secret for authentication. So this service principal is automatically created when you register an application. I'll show you how it is created. So let's go ahead and do the lab. Mhm. So I'm in portal.azure.com. I'll go to Microsoft Entra ID. So now we will go ahead and create a service principal. How we will create? So as mentioned in the last point, once you register your application, a service principal is created. I will create a register a new app. I will say my org name is Techlines and I will say this is for dev hyphen. This is SP service principal. Single tenant, multi-tenant. So this is a single tenant. I have a single tenant. So I have only one directory. You can also use multi-tenant if your application is shared across multiple tenants and there are third-party vendors and all. In those scenarios, we do. But most probably, so far, what I've created or seen is it will be a single tenant. But it can change to multi-tenant also. But for the lab purpose, we use the single tenant and a register. We can see tech lines hyphen dev hyphen sp. This is the service principal. Once we create this service principal, in the overview page, we can see this client ID. This is very important. This is the client ID. You can copy it by clicking this. This client ID is unique for each service principal, and this is used for connecting to Azure accounts when we are trying to do in an automatic way. And this is the tenant ID. Tenant ID is nothing but directory ID. Even this is used. These two are something we will use while connecting out in an automatic way. And here, once we go to certificates and secrets, you can create a new secret. Generally, in organization, every 90 days, we need to rotate these secrets. So I will say Q4. I generally keep the description as Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 because every 90 days we change. So that's the reason. So
Okay.
yeah, this is Q4 and I'll change it back to 90. And you see this secret got added and description is Q4 expires on 11/02. That is 11th of February 2026, 90 days from now. And this is the secret. This is the secret ID. You need to copy this value because once you move out of this screen, you won't be able to see this again. I copied it and I will save it here in my notepad and I'll come back. So now the service principal is created. I want to give the service principal access to my subscription. So once I provide access to my subscription to this service principal, I will be able to create resource groups, resources, and everything. I'll go to IAM. Where is this? Yeah. Add role assignment, contributor, privileged administrator role. You need to select privileged administrator role, add contributor, click next. And this is already selected user group or service principal. I want to add my service principal. Select this one and I'll say tech lines. This is the one tech lines hyphen dev hyphen sp is my service principal. Select and click next. Review and assign. Now the service principal has access to my subscription. So this is how you create a service principal and a secret. And this is how you assign the roles to that service principal. You can either assign these roles to the subscription or to a resource group or to a resource level. So once you assign these roles to that particular resource, then only you will be able to access them. If you are assigning it to subscription, you can access all the resources under that subscription.
Got it.
And I'm going back to this app registrations, and I have multiple app registrations. This is the one which I created. I need client ID. So now let's see how we can connect to a service principal in automatic way. I have a bunch of commands already there. This is my tenant ID, which is a fixed one, and this is the client ID, command V. So I'll go back to the portals. You can see this is tenant ID D66. It is starting with D66 and ending with 468. I already copied dollar tenant ID D66 and ending with 468. Dollar tenant ID is nothing but a variable, and we are assigning this value to dollar tenant ID. So wherever I am calling this dollar tenant ID in my commands in the script, so it is basically has this value. Next is client ID. I already copied this client ID and updated it here. So this is having this value. Okay, next is secret. I just now saved it here. I'll copy this and I'll update this here. One thing is, uh, so I will go ahead and run this. There is one problem with if I save the secret like this. It is a plain text. Anyone can see it and use it, correct? Now what I will do, I will convert the secret. I will encrypt these secrets. Uh, so these are the commands. Line number 8 and 9 you are seeing, right? What it is
Yes.
trying to do, it will encrypt the secret. First, it is converting the secret. It is encrypting the secret. I think it is using the base 64 encode base 64 something like that, and it will convert the secret. I will run this and show you. Mm, Let me check if what value I have here. I think I need to move back to this PowerShell. I'm in under session. Mm, I'll run this again, and I will run this line number 8 I ran. Okay, now let's see what is the value coming out. So now it is a secure strings system security dot secure string. This secure string now I am converting that from a secured string, and I am saving that to spsecret.txt. That file I am saving to that file. So now the encrypted password secret is in this location. Let me try to run this and see if I can see the value. So this is how it looks. The plain text is this. Okay, after I encrypt, it has turned like this. Now I don't need this. I don't want to convert or do anything because I already did that, and I don't need this also. I just need this one. In the later sessions or anything, what I will do, I will save this encoded secret into one of the files, and I will read this content, and I will decode this and I will use it. So here in line number 11, what I'm doing, I'm decoding this. What I'm doing, get content. That means it will read the content which is here, and it will convert to a secured string. So basically this will convert back. It will decrypt the secret, this command.
Yeah, decrypt the script, I mean, key using from the text file, right, which we created and saved in another place.
Yes, correct. and it has decrypted the secret, and it will again make it a plain text. So, okay, now it is in plain text. Okay, so this is how uh, I will run this secret. I mean, I will no, I will not show it to anyone. Once I save it, I will encrypt and save it to one of the place. In the later session, in the automation, when I am running, when I am trying to run any automated scripts, right? Then I will use this encrypted password. Now it is these two commands I will use and I will run. And then later here, line number 14, 15, 16, 17. This is AZ login. Now I am trying to connect to my Azure account using service principal. Service principal, client ID, and secret.
Secret.
Ye- Yeah, this is the username and this is the password. Username is nothing but the client ID here, and the password is in plain text.
Next.
And tenant is a nothing but directory. A directory or a tenant can have multiple subscriptions. So now I am connecting to my account. So I am connected to this account. Now that I just have one account, one subscription, it is showing that. But in organization, you will see there will be a multiple subscriptions. So once you are connected using your service principal to this tenant ID or the directory, then you need to select your subscription. So now I have selected my subscription. Okay, so next is now I am connected. So this session, this particular session, what you are seeing here, this is one terminal, one session. If I go to another terminal, that session will not have my login and everything. Now in this session, I can run the Azure commandlets or anything, and I will be able to create the resources. For example, here I try to create a resource group. We'll change the resource group name. I'm just I just added dollar because I'm running the script in PowerShell. PS here you can see, right? This is PS. In PowerShell, we denote the variables with dollar signature. And this is the command for creating the resource group. And I'll go ahead and run it. Okay. It failed because it is taking single line. I ran this command. So in the backend, it will go ahead and run and create the resource group. You can see the output. It says name techlines -RG200 and provisioning state is succeeded. You can go and check in the portal, resource groups, refresh 200. This is the new resource group which got created. It has nothing else. We can create any of the resources like app service. You can create VNet, anything you can create under this resource group. So this is how a service principal is used for automating your scripts. I mean, in a non-interactive way, you can connect to the Azure Azure account and create the resources. Do you have any questions or anything?
Got it. No, I don't have any questions.
So the takeaway is that when you create a service principal, you'll get a client ID and client secret, and make sure that you are when once you create the secret, you just copy it to some place, because after that you won't be able to see that secret. Like I will show you. I'll go to my app service and check the secret now. This is the one which I created. If I go and check the secret, it will look like this. You won't be able to see the value.
Yeah, it only comes once.
Yes. So that's how it is. And using that, you will be able to connect. Can go back to the slides. This lab is register a Microsoft Entra app and create a service principal, which we just did. And then automating resource creation with a service principal. So we used the same script and we connected to the Azure account and created a resource group. Next is a managed identity. So what is a managed identity? Azure managed identity is an automatically managed identity for Azure resources in Microsoft Entra ID. The first line is little confusing, but what it says, it is some identity which gets created automatically in the Microsoft Entra ID, which allows them to authenticate to other services that support Microsoft Entra authentication without needing to manage credentials like password or connection keys. Right now, what we have seen is service principal and we created a secret. But here in managed identity, it works in the same way to authenticate to the account and access the resources and everything. But here there is no password or certificate or anything. It will just have the client ID. There won't be any password or anything. That's the major difference. And this eliminates the security risk of hard coding secrets in code or configuration files. So we are hard coding the secrets or anything. Hard coding means we are putting the keys somewhere. Like um, I have saved the encoded string into one of the text file. And then I'm trying to decrypt and use that, right? If somebody has this text file, the encoded secret, people will be able to decode and use it. So that's the reason this managed identity has come into picture, and the usage is little different compared to the service principal. And basically, this will eliminate the security risk of hard coding secrets because it doesn't have any secrets. And managed identity has two types. One is a system assigned. Second one is user assigned. System assigned is tied to a single resource lifecycle, tied to a single resources lifecycle. And user assigned is created as a separate resource and assigned to one or more instances. So I will explain you what is the system assigned. So if you remember, I will show you this. Then it will be easy for understanding. I have created one app service in one of the resource group. This is a resource group, and like this one is my app service.
Yeah, we deployed two machines. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so this app service is there, and I will go to authentication or identity. In one place, it will be there. Now I'll go to identity. Here you see this option: system assigned, user assigned. I will say I'll click on, and I will save. What it is doing,
By default, who has the admin access, they can only manage the system, right?
correct. So yeah, they only can, and it is create now. System assigned identity is now it is now creating. I'll go ahead and I saved it, right?
Yeah.
Identity.
Unexpected error. No, it's still creating.
Mhm. Yeah, enabling system assigned identity.
The user assign means where we can assign a particular user or a group where they can manage the application, right? So they manage the application, they do the regular updates and all stuff like that. Is it right?
Correct. S- it won't. It is not a group. It is a single one. It
Yeah.
is a single identity.
Okay.
User as a assigned where I have used is um, like for example, I am deploying my app service using uh, um, so I have a image. So once I create a image using a Docker file, so there will be a Docker file. Once I run Docker file, it will create an image, and they comments it in the container registry. Basically, it is a microservice, and microservices are saved as a containers, right? So that container image is there in Azure Container Registry. Now, if I want to deploy that image to my app service, this app service should have access to that container registry to go and pick that image from the container registry. Uh,
Okay.
so what we do, we will create a user assigned and give the access to this user assigned managed identity to the app service and also to the Azure Container Registry. Then they both can communicate.
Okay, it's like a service account where we create one service account for one application. That application to integrate with the Azure, we use that as the user managed one. Is it
Correct.
right or
Correct.
okay?
Correct. It works in the same way.
Okay.
Now it is creating system assigned identity. Now what I will do, I will take the system assigned identity, and I have given an example of Azure Container Registry. Same way I have created one key vault. I will go ahead and give this this service system identity access to that key vault.
Okay.
Go back and check. um, this is my principal ID.
Application. Mhm.
Now this is on, status is on, system assigned identity. So this particular app has this identity now, system assigned identity, and it is trying to access a secret from the key vault. Like I have a key vault here. Where is this key vault? Yeah, I will go ahead and create one key vault.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We haven't created it.
Yeah. Mm, Key vault and days to retain deleted walls. It can go up to 7 to 90 days. So I'll keep 7 days. So even after you delete, you can retrieve. So next, and I will say networking selected networks.
We need to add a virtual network, which we want to do.
Yeah, I will add that later. Create. So to the key vault, I can give access to the service principal or to this managed identity. Here, the communication is happening between the services. App service is trying to communicate with Key Vault to get the secret, is one example. Second example is app service is trying to communicate with the container registry where it has the image. For communication between these resources, we use this managed identity or service principal. I'll go to IAM and I'll go to resource assignment. You see, my service principal has a contributor access to this key vault already, and that one is inherited. I
Yeah,
gave
because we
a
choose that as a system.
subscription we have to the subscription we have assigned contributor access, and it got inherited. But the managed identity doesn't have this access. Okay, what I will do, I will add managed identity, add a role. You say contributor next. Here it gives a option assign access to managed identity. Click this and select members. I have one app service now, and this app service is having this managed identity. I will select that. Now this managed identity is selected. Review and assign. Now you see this managed identity is given access to this resource alone.
Yeah.
Now there is a communication which can happen between app service and to this key vault using this account. So we in Entra ID, right? We have two things we have seen: authentication and authorization, right?
Yes.
Uh, Authentication is like we have taken one example. So when you go to a hotel and in the reception you show your ID card like Aadhaar or something, then he will assign you one room. In
Yes.
that room, he will give one access card. Only to that room you will be allowed. That card will work only to that room. Similarly, here it is like authentication, like an access card, so that the app service can access only to this. But uh, is it is this is authorization. Authentication is one thing which we have already done, like logged into the account. Are you getting me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So one is authentication, the other one is authorization.
Authorization.
Authentication is you already logged into the account, but the kind of permissions you have is some to some resources you have read access, to some resources you have a write access, right?
Yes.
Even in your organization, you are very much aware, right? For some you have read access, for some you have write access.
Yeah.
Similarly, uh, this app, right? It can has this contributor access to this key vault from app, right? If I run some code in the app and run it, and that app can perform many actions using this managed identity. And this managed identity secret developers can use and perform some actions across the different resources in Azure. Like if they want to write some logs to the logs, right? We have the event hub, application inside logs and everything. Multiple places are there. In those scenarios, they will use.
Got it.
So this is a system assigned. Okay, this one is a system assigned. When I am using multiple, uh, I create a managed identity, user managed identity. System managed identity is created by the system by default. Automatically it is created. User managed identity is something created by the user. I will create it. Okay, I'll go to managed identity here. I'll create one user managed identity, which is nothing but which I create by myself. Create user assigned managed identity. 100 and name. This is techlines -mi. I'll say UIMI, user managed identity. Review and create. It says validation failed. Think it is in progress. Okay, deployment KV2 resource group RG100 was successful. As far as I remember, my resource group is in Central US, so I selected that tags. Okay, I don't want to give. Hmm. This is a user managed identity which we gave, and I use this managed identity which works without any password or anything. It will generate one client ID. So I use that to provide access across multiple resources. Like for example, I gave earlier, I have used app services and also Key Vault. One is that there also I can give directly this user managed identity access. The other way around is you can give it to ACR. And once when you are creating this Kubernetes service, in that also you manage this user managed identity. We create this user managed identity to give this user managed identity to other resources. Access to other resources could be a container registry, could be a storage account, could be a SQL database. So that when my AKS Kubernetes tries to communicate with other resources within my account, it uses this account for the communication.
Got it.
Yeah, that's how this user managed identity works. But when you are doing this automated way of connecting to Azure account, here which we did, we need to go through this only. You need to use the service principal. This works
Got
for
it.
both authentication and authorization, but that works only for authorization. I'm just trying to um, make you understand how it works in the backend.
Understood.
Okay, and I think we have covered most of the part in the Key Vault. Key Vault is one of the topic which I thought I will cover. But in previous sessions, most of the things we have covered. Uh, Secrets, we have created secrets in the private endpoints, right? In the session, we have created secrets. Then We try to access these secrets from app services by enabling the private endpoints in the networking part. We
Yeah.
disabled the public access, then we created the private endpoint, which we have already covered that lab. And this one, there is one more important thing when we work with Key Vault. One is we in the networking we need to add our IP address.
Yeah, to access to get access, right?
Yeah, add your client IP address. We need to add our IP address, then only we will be able to see the secrets.
Yeah.
And next thing is access policies, right? To access policies is the other way of accessing these resources, secrets. Uh, this is RBAC, role-based access control, which is a recommended way from Microsoft. But in few of the organizations, they use Vault access policies. So once you enable these access policies, so this is now enabled. I can access configuration. In this access configuration, I enabled Vault access policies. Now I can go to this access policies. Here it gives an option to create. And I just want to give the read access to the user managed identity, which I just created. It should be able to just read the keys and secrets. I don't want it to read the certificates or crypto operations, encrypt, decrypt, purge, or any other operations which on the key vault which we do. I don't want. I just want it to read the keys and secrets. So from here, I can do that. The user managed identity I created is something like UMI, right? Tech clients. Yeah, this is the one. Selected that. Application options. This is optional. Then create. So from here, you can give more fine-grained access from here. Like it can only read keys and secrets. That's all. So if you enable that, this is how you can add the access policies. The same thing we can do from RBAC also, IAM, but we should be knowing the name like role assignment. I will say roles in the roles, key vault. Hmm. Key vault administrator, key vault contributor, crypto officer, crypto user, key vault reader. I can also give that, give give this access to that. But some of the things are not available in this. Like I just gave access to keys and secret, but it I did not give access to certificates. But here, if I give key vault reader access, the user will be able to access the certificates, and that fine-grained access is not available. That option is not available from this one. So that kind of little more flexibility comes through the access policies. Are you able to get me here?
Yeah, yeah. Understood.
So that's how these access policies work. Yeah, that's all for the day.